19 years old and you've been playing the guitar since you were 8. Not because anyone told you to. Not because it was cool, because music was the only thing in your life that made sense when nothing else did. You sit in your room all day with a second-hand acoustic and play until your fingers bled, until the calluses built up so thick you could press a hot stove and barely flinch. You were good, and you knew it. The kind of good that doesn't need to be told. But good doesn't pay rent, and talent is worthless without an audience. You're playing open mics in small bars with sticky floors and bartenders who aren't really listening. You're uploading covers on the internet that get 200 views, if you're lucky, and 180 of those are your mom refreshing the page. You're working a job you hate. Coffee, retail, whatever. Coming home smelling like someone else's life. Sitting back down with that guitar and wondering when it's supposed to click. When does it start? Most people give up around here. Most people decide it was a dream, and dreams are for sleeping. They find something practical, something stable. They put the guitar in a closet and visit it maybe once a year like an old friend they've grown apart from. But you don't. That's the thing about you. That's the thing that makes everything that comes after possible. You do not stop. You're 23 when it happens. You've been in a city for 2 years now, playing every gig you can get, living in an apartment with 4 other people and a mold problem nobody wants to acknowledge. You've written about 60 original songs. You think maybe 8 of them are genuinely great. A man approaches you after a show one night. He's not young, maybe 55, maybe older, it's hard to tell. He's got that ageless quality some people have, like time moves differently around them. He's dressed plain, no jewelry, nothing flashy, a dark coat, dark slacks, shoes that probably cost more than your monthly rent, but don't look like it. He says he liked your set. You say thank you. He hands you a card. It's matte black, just a name and a number. No company, no logo. I work with artists, he says. Real artists. Not the kind they manufacture. Come have a meeting if you want to know what your ceiling actually looks like. You tell yourself you won't call. You call the next morning. The office is not what you expected. No gold records on the walls, no framed magazine covers, no ego. Just a very clean room with a very large windows and a man sitting across from you who seems to already know everything about you without you having said a word. He knows your name, he knows your influences, he knows the song you wrote when you were 17 about your father leaving, the one you never played for anyone, the one sitting in a notebook under your bed. You don't ask how he knows. Something stops you. He tells you he's been watching you for a while, that he has an eye for a certain type of artist, that most people in the industry are looking for someone they can shape. But he's looking for someone who's already shaped, someone complete, someone with something real inside them. He says he can make you enormous, not famous, enormous. The kind of artist people talk about in the same sentence as the ones who change things. He says there are people he knows, connections that don't exist on paper, channels that don't operate the way normal channels do. He uses a phrase you don't fully understand at the time. There's a door, he says, and I can open it, but once you walk through, the door doesn't open from the other side. You ask him what that means. He smiles. It's not a warm smile. It means you have to be sure. You're not sure, but you sign. Nothing dramatic happens at first. That's what you need to understand. There's no ritual, no dark room, no contract written in anything other than ink. It looks like the music industry. It smells like the music industry. Meetings, sessions, a label that doesn't officially exist but that has distribution through others. A producer you've heard of but never thought you'd meet. You record your first album in a studio that isn't listed anywhere online. The album is good. You know it's good the way you know things in your chest before your brain catches up. But something happens in a mixing process that you can't explain. There is a frequency, buried low, underneath everything. You only hear it late at night through headphones. It sounds like breathing, or water moving underground. You ask the engineer about it. He says it's just the room's ambient noise. You listen to it again next night. Rooms don't breathe like that. The album drops and the world tilts. Not gradually, overnight. You wake up on a Tuesday to 3,000 streams. You go to sleep that night at 400,000. By the end of the week there are articles. By the end of the month there are magazine covers. And by the end of the year there's a Grammy nomination and your face on a billboard in a city you've never been to. You should feel euphoric. You feel watched. There's this thing that starts happening when you perform. You're on stage, you're playing, the crowd is enormous and loud. And somewhere in the set, maybe the third or fourth song, you feel it. a kind of emptiness, like someone reached into your chest and scooped something out. You finish the show, you sign things, you take photos, you smile. You go back to the hotel room and you sit on the edge of the bed and you can't even remember what you played. Not the set list, you know the set list, you mean the feeling. The thing that used to happen when you played, the full body sense of being exactly where you were supposed to be. It's gone. Like it was traded for something. Like it was the price. You start researching. Because you're not the first, that's what gets you. You're absolutely not the first. There is a pattern if you look for it. A pattern so consistent across decades and genres and continents that it stops feeling like a coincidence and starts feeling like a design. Musicians who appear fully formed, who blow up overnight, who have a quality in their work the other musicians can't quite name or replicate. A quality that almost sounds like it doesn't belong to them. Robert Johnson at the crossroads, selling his soul in Mississippi in 1930s or something, coming back with a guitar and playing so well nobody could believe it. The 27 Club, you know the names Hendrix, Joplin, Morrison, Cobain, Winehouse. People always frame it as a tragedy of excess, but there are people, serious people, not conspiracy theorists in basements, who point out that 27 is a numerologically significant number in certain occult traditions. That dying at 27 isn't an accident, that it's a collection. You think about your man in a dark coat, you don't know how old he is. You think about what he said. The door doesn't open from the other side. You start noticing things in the music, not just yours. You read interviews from artists at your level, bigger than your level, and there's always a moment they can't explain. A moment where everything shifted. A meeting that happened at the right time. A person who appeared and opened something. A door. The second album is harder. Not because you run out of ideas. The ideas are there, but they feel borrowed now, like you're reaching into a space that was filled for you rather than pulling from somewhere genuine. You write a song about your mother. It doesn't feel like her mother. It feels like a song about someone's mother, accurate in every detail, but hollow at the center. He calls after he hears your rough cuts. It's good. Yes, it's good, he says. You tell him you know it's good. You tell him it doesn't feel like yours. Does it need to? Does the audience feel that? You tell him the audience isn't the point. He's quiet for a moment. It used to not be the point, he says. Things change. You want to scream, but you don't, because the truth is you're terrified of him. Not in an obvious way, in the way you're terrified of a very deep lake. Not because anything has happened, because of what could be underneath and the fact that you can't see it. There is a night about 2 years in when something happens you've never told anyone. You're at a party, one of those parties where everyone is famous and nobody's happy. You step outside for air and a woman comes after you. You don't recognize her at first. She's not dressed for the party. She's dressed like she just came from somewhere else entirely. And she looks at you and says, "You should leave." You ask her what she means. "The man who found you," she says. "Do you know who he works for?" You tell her you know what company he... Oh, she says. "Do you know what he works for?" She says there's a group. She doesn't name it. She calls it the structure. She says it's older than the music industry, older than the radio, older than records. She says he's been doing this for a very long time, finding artists with something real inside them and making a specific exchange. Fame, in exchange for the thing that made the gift worth having. Not a metaphor. Not a way of saying that you exploit artists financially, though they do that too. She means something literal. She says people who leave get handled. She says she knows 3 people who tried. That 2 of them had very public breakdowns that ended their careers. That the third simply doesn't exist anywhere anymore. No social media, no records, no family members who will say where they are. You ask her how she knows all this. She says, "I signed the same thing you did." You look at her, you try to place the face. She goes back inside before you can ask her name. You spend the rest of the night trying to find her at a party. She isn't there. Nobody saw her come in, nobody saw her leave. The guest list has no one matching her description. The fame gets bigger. This is the thing nobody prepares you for. The fame getting bigger doesn't make it better. It makes it heavier. There are more people around you and somehow you feel more alone. Every stage is bigger and emptiness during the set grows proportionately, like the venue is just more space for the hollow thing to echo around in. You start doing things you didn't used to, staying up until 4 in the morning staring at nothing. Pulling out old notebooks to find the songs you wrote before, trying to reconnect with whoever that person was. Sometimes you can still feel them, faintly, like a radio signal from very far away. Something was taken. You don't know exactly when or what. You don't know exactly how. But you know, the way you know your own heartbeat, that the thing which made the music yours, the specific and repeatable electricity of your particular experience, that's not there anymore. It was the currency. They got what they wanted out of the exchange. You try to leave, not dramatically, you don't even announce it. You stop returning calls from your manager. You stop showing up to the meetings, you hire a new lawyer, and you start quietly looking at your contract, trying to find the exit clause. There isn't one. Not in any language you can read anyway. Your lawyer finds sections in the contracts that she says she's never seen before. Clauses that reference obligations that aren't defined anywhere else in the document. She calls them anomalies. She says she wants a second opinion. The second lawyer never gets back to her. The third one says the contract is standard. You start having dreams, the same dream on repeat. You're in a studio, the one with the unmarked address, and you're recording, but you can't hear yourself. You're playing and singing, and you can see your own mouth moving, but the sound is going somewhere else. Somewhere you can see, into the walls or into the floor, being collected. You wake up and you write the dream down. You put it in a song. It's the best thing you've made in years, maybe ever. Your man hears it, he calls you immediately. This one's special, he says. His voice is different, warmer than usual, pleased in a way that makes your skin crawl. Where did this come from? You tell him you don't know, but you do. It came from the fear. It came from the part of you they haven't fully gotten to yet, whatever small corner is still intact. And you realize, sitting there on the phone with him, that this is the deal you didn't understand when you signed it. They don't take everything at once. That would leave nothing to harvest. They take it slow. And as long as you're creating, as long as you're reaching for the last piece of yourself that's still real, you'll keep getting something. And you'll keep getting stages and magazines and everything you thought you wanted. The deal doesn't end. That's what he meant. The door doesn't open from the other side. You're 28 now. You're one of the most recognized musicians on the planet. You have a Grammy on a shelf in a house you own but don't live in. You have a sound that people describe as once in a generation. And every time you reach for it, every time you sit down with the guitar the way you did when you were 8 years old with bleeding fingers in a bedroom, every time you find it, it gets a little smaller, a little further away. There are artists out there right now, young ones, playing open mics in bars with sticky floors, uploading covers that get 200 views, working jabs they hate, and coming home to a guitar and wondering when it's supposed to click. Some of them are going to get the card. Matte black, no logo, just a name and a number. And they're going to think about it. They're going to tell themselves they won't call. If they're reading the right forums late at night, they'll find people who say the industry is a machine, that the machine doesn't want your gift. It wants to use your gift until there's nothing left, and then they'll find the next one. They'll find references to musicians going back 100 years, patterns too precise to be coincidences, names that recur in ways they shouldn't, a structure that operates below the surface or everything visible. They think it sounds crazy. Maybe it is. Maybe the man in the dark coat is just a very good manager. Maybe the frequency in the recording is just room noise. Maybe the woman on the terrace was just drunk. Maybe the contracts are strange because all contracts in the industry are strange. Maybe the 27 Club is just what happens when very sensitive people get very famous very young. Maybe all of it is explainable, but here what isn't. You sit down with a guitar tonight, you play the first song you ever wrote, the one about your father leaving, the one that came from the deepest, truest, most unguarded place inside you. And it sounds correct, every note, every word. But it doesn't feel like yours anymore. It feels like something that used to live in you. Like a room where someone else is sleeping now. You set the guitar down, you go back to bed. Tomorrow you have a show. 50,000 people. And you'll stand in the lights and you'll feel the crowd. And somewhere in the third or fourth song, the emptiness will come. Familiar as breathing. And you'll play through it. Because that's the deal. That's always been the deal. We just didn't read the whole thing.